A new nation's first steps. Introducing the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation, America's first constitution. This document, adopted in 1777, served as the governing framework for the newly independent United States. It emerged from the crucible of the American Revolutionary War. The fledgling nation, having just broken free from British rule, needed a system to unite 13 independent colonies. The Articles of Confederation represented a bold experiment in self-governance. It was a testament to the ideals of liberty and self-determination that fueled the revolution. The document aimed to create a system where states retained significant autonomy. This was a direct response to the centralized authority experienced under British rule. The Articles, however, were short-lived. They were plagued by inherent weaknesses that hindered effective governance. Yet understanding this first attempt at a national government is crucial. The Articles of Confederation offer valuable insights into the challenges and triumphs of building a nation. The shadow of Revolution context and creation of the Articles. To truly grasp the Articles of Confederation, we must journey back to its birth. Picture the American colonies in the 1770s. They are united by a common goal: independence from Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence, signed in 1776, proclaimed their freedom. But declaring independence and forming a nation are two distinct endeavors. The newly independent states were wary of centralized power. Their experience with British rule had made them skeptical of strong central authority. They feared replicating the very system they had just fought to overthrow. The Articles of Confederation reflected this sentiment. The document, drafted in 1777, was the product of compromise and debate. It reflected the prevailing political climate, a deep-seated fear of tyranny. The Articles aimed to create a league of friendship among the states. Each state retained its sovereignty, freedom, and independence. The central government, deliberately weak, had limited powers. A loose union forged. Structure and provisions of the Articles. The Articles of Confederation established a unicameral legislature, the Congress of the Confederation. Each state, regardless of size or population, had one vote. This ensured equal representation for all states, a key concern for smaller states fearful of being dominated by larger ones. The powers granted to Congress were limited. It could declare war, make treaties, coin money, and settle disputes between states. However, it lacked the power to tax or regulate commerce. This proved to be a critical flaw. Without the ability to raise revenue or control trade, the central government was severely hamstrung. The Articles did not establish an executive branch to enforce laws or a judicial branch to interpret them. This further weakened the central government and created ambiguity in enforcing agreements and resolving disputes. The absence of a strong central authority, while intentional, ultimately proved detrimental to the young nation's stability. Section 4. Triumphs amidst tumult. Strengths of the Articles of Confederation. Despite its flaws, the Articles of Confederation achieved some notable successes. It successfully guided the nation through the final years of the Revolutionary War. The Continental Army, under the auspices of the Confederation Congress, secured victory against Great Britain. The Articles also facilitated the negotiation of the Treaty of Paris in 1783. This treaty formally ended the Revolutionary War and recognized American independence. The Confederation Congress successfully negotiated favorable terms with Great Britain. These included territorial concessions that doubled the size of the United States. On the domestic front, the Articles established principles of states' rights and limited government. These principles continue to resonate in American political discourse today. The Articles, by outlining a system of cooperation among independent states, laid the groundwork for future interstate relations. Section 5. Cracks in the foundation. Weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. The weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation, however, soon became apparent. The lack of power to tax proved debilitating. The Congress could request funds from the states, but it had no way to compel them to pay. This resulted in chronic financial shortfalls. The government was often unable to meet its obligations, including paying soldiers who had fought in the Revolution. The absence of a national currency and uniform economic policies created chaos and hindered interstate trade. States printed their own money, leading to inflation and instability. The lack of regulation allowed for trade barriers between states, stifling economic growth. The weakness of the central government also made it difficult to maintain order and protect the nation from internal and external threats. Shays' Rebellion, an armed uprising of farmers in Massachusetts in 1786, exposed the fragility of the government under the Articles. The rebellion, while eventually suppressed, highlighted the urgent need for a stronger national government capable of enforcing laws and maintaining order. Section 6. A Legacy of Lessons, the Impact of the Articles. The Articles of Confederation, while ultimately unsuccessful, holds a significant place in American history. It represented the nation's first attempt at self-governance after declaring independence. It embodied the ideals of states' rights and limited government, principles that continue to shape American political thought. The Articles' weaknesses, however, proved fatal. The lack of a strong central government led to economic instability, internal unrest, and an inability to effectively address the challenges facing the young nation. These shortcomings led to calls for a revision of the Articles. The legacy of the Articles of Confederation is one of both accomplishment and failure. It served as a valuable learning experience, highlighting the need for a more unified and effective government. The shortcomings of the Articles paved the way for the drafting of the United States Constitution, a document that has stood the test of time. Section 7. Towards a More Perfect Union, the Transition to the U.S. Constitution. By 1787, it was clear that the Articles of Confederation were failing. The nation was teetering on the brink of chaos. Leaders from across the newly formed United States gathered in Philadelphia to address the shortcomings of the Articles. This gathering became known as the Constitutional Convention. The delegates to the Constitutional Convention, recognizing the failures of the Articles, opted to draft a new framework for government. The United States Constitution, adopted in 1788, addressed the weaknesses of its predecessor. It created a stronger central government with the power to tax, regulate commerce, and enforce laws. The Constitution established a system of checks and balances among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches to prevent tyranny. The new government, under the Constitution, proved far more effective than the one it replaced. It ushered in an era of stability and prosperity for the United States. The Articles of Confederation, though flawed,